Okay, thank you so much for coming to our LinkedIn and resume workshop. We're so excited to see you here. My name is Anusha. I'm one of the directors of instruction for GDSC. I'm Hannah. Okay, so really quickly before we get started, okay, um, slide technical difficulties. So we have a class coming up. I'm interning for a space on campus called Slugworks. It's a creator space in the basement of Baskin Engineering. You might have seen it around or seen flyers or heard about it. And so what I'm doing, part of my work is to promote CMPM 15, which is this class called Lead by Design. So if you have a skill that you can use to create a project, you can take this class and then learn how to design and evaluate a collaborative engineering design project that you will then be paid to teach. So basically, you would take CMPM 115 this spring, and then the following fall, and basically in that class, you learn how to design, you learn like pedagogical approaches to teaching, and then you would get to teach your class in the fall to freshmen, sophomores, so underclassmen, and they would get to build a project based on that skill that you're interested in. And so if you're a little confused, like past themes or skills that people have done include virtual reality, so using like headsets, like the Oculus headsets, cybersecurity, circuit design. Someone, I think the project for that class was a fan. And so you would get paid to then teach this class in fall 2024. So we're working on getting flyers and contact information out for that. But if this sounds like something you're interested in, please reach out to me or yeah, just come talk to me later. Okay, so in this workshop, we're going to be going over resume tips and then some examples for your resume, and then maybe the difference between resume and LinkedIn, and then LinkedIn tips. So it's kind of just going to go down. And then at the end, you're going to have time to connect with each other and network and basically interact with each other. Okay, so starting off, a quick overview of your resume. So it should be one page. Don't make it more than one page. You want to have all of your experiences and your skills, anything that you want to show off about yourself, and make it concise because whether it's being scanned for keywords or a recruiter is looking at it, they don't want to spend too much time looking at it, and you want to make sure that certain things pop when they see it. The general sections that we have seen include education and relevant coursework under this, technical skills, so languages, frameworks, tech stacks, experience, including technical and work, so like professional experience and also leadership experience, projects, so anything that you have built that can show what you are familiar with, that you can talk about, and maybe you have deployed it or something. And then certifications and awards. So if you have done any courses online and that results in a certification, or if you have participated in a hackathon or something and you have an award, you can include that there. And then one more quick thing, make sure when you start your descriptions for all of your experiences, start them with active words. So developed, implemented, created, pioneered, words like that. So this is a picture of Jake's resume. It's an anonymous resume that you can fill out in LaTeX. I think if you just look it up, we will also have a link for you later. But the general categories are education, skills, work leadership experience, projects, certificates, and awards. I do want to note the technical skills section is like all the way at the bottom, and then leadership is a different category. So like little things like that depends on what experience you have and how much you have for each category and what you want to show. So there's definitely not like a single way to format your resume, but this is just the main general way that we have seen it been done. So starting out with education. So we're all in college, I'm assuming if you are here. So definitely include your university here, as well as your expected graduation date and your GPA. Generally, if your GPA is above a 3.0, include it. If it's not above a 3.0, you don't necessarily need to include it. It may or may not help. For relevant coursework, order based on relevancy. Make sure to include the name and not the number, because recruiters are not going to know what CSE 101 is, but they will know what data structures and algorithms is. If you are applying to software engineering positions, they do want to see data structures and algorithms as a class, because that is an important class, and it's kind of the foundation for everything. So do include that if you have space. You can include your high school, but don't include it if you have enough to fill the rest of the page. But if you need something else, and you don't have too much experience yet, you can include your high school if you took any CS classes or if you were part of any clubs. That's definitely a way to make sure that you are using the whole page. One thing I want to note, so when it says order based on relevancy, let's say you're applying for like a web dev internship. And if you've taken any web dev courses, I know like CC 186, 187, 183, those would be relevant coursework. If you're doing something like related to distributed systems or OS, then the 130 series would be relevant coursework. So you definitely want to make sure that for each position, you are showcasing your experiences to fit that position. So that might mean changing your resume based on what you're applying to.
And then for the experience section, you want to include both relevant volunteering or professional work experience, basically any experience that is applicable to the position you're applying for. And as Anusha mentioned earlier, you want to order chronologically or most recent first. However, if you are applying to a specific position that you know that like not your most recent, but maybe like your second most recent job is most applicable, then put that up front so recruiters see that first. And of course, if you guys don't have much experience yet, non-relevant work experience is still important. Like if you're tutoring English, even though English may not be like part of that CS related field, the tutoring part shows that you have good people skills and you're able to communicate with others, which is important in any field. And for this section, you want to aim for 2 to 3 work experiences. But of course, if you still don't have much experience yet, I'll focus on the next section, which is projects, where you'll be able to include more of that. And it's easier to participate in projects than gain experience. And like projects are the same thing as gaining experience, so I'll get into that later. But for these bullet points underneath each experience, you should be very descriptive. Try to aim for 3 to 4 bullet points. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys don't have much experience yet, projects are a great way, whether it's like going on YouTube and following a tutorial or participating in the solution challenge. And you do want to aim for at least one project, but a good place is like 2 to 4. And make sure to add the project name, of course, and all the technologies you used and the languages. And this first bullet point underneath each project should be kind of like a summary, like a vague summary. You don't have to go into the nitty gritty of like all the technologies that you use, but just like what your project does. And as always, you want to go in chronological order, but of course, like as I said before, like if it's the most relevant, then put that up first. But honestly, this can be argued but in like vice versa, whatever, but you guys can choose based on what you think it works best. And for each project, if you do have a GitHub link, then make sure to link it, because that actually shows you did the project.
So before we continue, does anyone have any questions? Okay, great. So now we're just gonna go into how you can write about your experiences. So basically the bullet points. So as Hannah mentioned, it should be like 2 to 4 bullet points per experience. For projects and relevant technical experience, describe how you use technology. These should not be full sentences. So don't use I. And generally they do it in past tense because it's something that you've already done. And so we have a picture with a bunch of action past tense words here. So completed, created, delivered, earned, um, produced, pioneered. One thing you can do is show impact by quantifying accomplishments and experiences. And we're going to go into this in the next slide. But a great way to show impact is to use percentages and numbers because that really shows how what you actually did. So let's say you were part of planning a hackathon and you had like 6,000 attendees. You know, you reached 6,000 people with this experience. Or you are part of a club and you increased club engagement by 15%. That kind of shows what you did and the impact it had.
So what Anusha mentioned earlier, like really emphasizing on quantifying your accomplishments. There's this formula used by a former SVP at Google, and he basically suggests like you should go along the lines of accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. And obviously don't use these exact words. It's just trying to portray like quantifying your accomplishments because recruiters like to see numbers since that shows you've done actual impact. For example, if you were working at the dining hall, instead of saying like, oh, did the dishes, mop the floor, blah, 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 you could say cater to the needs of over 5,000 students a day, delivering high quality customer service while upholding health and safety standards. And while this description may be over the top, you do want to try to like embellish your resume descriptions because that's how recruiters can distinguish you from other candidates. And now it's your guys' turn to improve these bullet points. For example, if you're a tutor here, either like any tutor, like maybe your LSS or Baskin, you can say, helped students with their homework, or how can you make that better? And like if you're a sports captain, led the team in various sports activities. Or more applicable, like the software engineer intern, worked on several programming tasks. And you guys can just talk to each other and try to figure out what's a better way to describe this, like these positions.
And sorry, let's start with 5 minutes for that. So if you're not already sitting next to someone, feel free to move. We want to hear how you guys can embellish this and make it sound better.
Like for the
That's Someone else is on the memory.
Oh, she's
Okay, let's say like maybe 2 more minutes.
Okay. Are they still talking or should I just? Okay. So now that 5 to 10 minutes is almost over, does anyone want to share the descriptions that they came up with? Like either for the tutor, sports captain, or intern? I know the groups that I went around had pretty good descriptions too. Oh, did you want to go? I don't know if you raised your hand. Mhm. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. All the percents. Just make sure you get all the correct data behind it. And like I also remember you were talking about like how you could collect data on like how each student improved like based on their grade as well, which was pretty cool. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that sounds very good because like midterm and finals, a lot of students need help on understanding concepts and like learning it maybe.
I think one thing you can do definitely as a tutor too to like get those numbers is you can maybe have a form, and you can ask them to self-report how they feel at the beginning of the class, how they feel in the middle, how their sessions helped. And so even if you can't get like the grades or like numbers in that sense, you can see how much you helped them or what they felt.
Yeah, actually a lot of the tutors here like they have a wait list and you do have to like complete a form in order to get into their Zoom. So if you become a tutor, that's another way that you can collect data as well. Did anyone do any other examples for like the sports captain or software engineer intern? Nobody? All tutors? Okay. Okay, so as Anisha mentioned earlier, this technical skills section can either be below education and relevant coursework, or it could be more below in your like down below in your resume. We do recommend putting it right after relevant coursework since that is what we see the most often. So for technical skills, you list your proficient programming languages and make sure to not include a language that you don't have experience with because it will be really awkward if a recruiter asks you about that certain language. And that actually makes it makes you look pretty bad from a standpoint. So just stick with what you know, and I think you'll be great. And then the other subsection is developer tools and frameworks. And these include like different frameworks and tools that you use, like databases, like Firestore or like Flask as your framework. And this is best, or like these frameworks and tools basically are probably coming from your job descriptions or like your experience descriptions. And then another skill that you can put is if you guys know any foreign languages, and hopefully put them if you're at least comfortable with speaking it at a conversational level. Because some companies may look for certain languages, but that's honestly depends on the company.
Okay, and then the last kind of category we have is leadership and extracurriculars. So that includes club leadership, volunteer work, any other relevant extracurriculars. I know cruise hacks, if you're part of a hackathon, if you are on a consulting club, anything like that. Definitely with the descriptions for those, show your soft skills, your professional skills. So communication. Um, I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but skills that are not necessarily technical, but that are definitely helpful in a company, collaboration, teamwork, things like that. For certifications and awards, so this can include hackathon awards, cloud or security certificates. If you do any kind of online course and they give you like something to prove that you completed it, that shows that you have done it. It's definitely not necessary, but you should definitely include it if you have it. Yes. So, really quickly, what do you guys notice about these two resumes? They are a little bit. Can you see them? Are they like big enough? Should we make them bigger? Okay. The one on the left, you don't need to be able to read it, but just based on what you can see, is there anything you observe about either of them or maybe comparing them? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else? Yep. Yeah. But if you can't even see it, then what's the point? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So basically, the number two is not formatted as well as number one generally. There are different little things you can do to change up the formatting, but a lot of resumes and resume templates follow the template of number one. Um, Maybe not specifically by section, but like you said, by indentation. The dates are bolded and so are the positions, but then the bullet points are not bolded. So we just want to emphasize there are so many templates out there. We will also be giving, or we have a few links to some. Use them because it's really nice to have a formatted resume that a recruiter can look at and, things will pop out. So for number one, like I see the restroom help project right away. So it helps you show off what you want to show off in a good way.
Oh, and another thing to add, you guys can see it for the first resume is that some words are bolded, like specific words on the descriptions. And I do like, in my opinion, like I do recommend bolding like specific technologies that you think would be appealing to the company that you're applying for, just because recruiters go through hundreds of resumes and like bolding like the specific technologies might just make it easier for them and they might end up choosing yours instead of another one that has the same technologies, but they just didn't see it through enough. And then now we're going to go into the differences between your resume and LinkedIn. So your resume lists your most recent or relevant experiences and skills on one page. You don't want to go over that. And it's, for example, you list the two most relevant or recent experiences out of the 4 jobs that you've had before. And your resume is tailored to each position that you're applying for, since some companies might be looking for certain skill sets that you can only fit onto one page and other companies are looking for other skill sets. And LinkedIn is where you put all like your entire work history and experiences, and these are usually chronological, and these include descriptions that are similar to your resume, and you can even add more. And the important thing about important thing about LinkedIn is that it's a platform where you can expand your network and basically connect with others, which is super important. You can even cold message recruiters on LinkedIn and they could possibly like let you know if there's any open positions available. And by cold messaging them, it kind of gives them a good first, you kind of give them a first good impression. So some LinkedIn tips. This is a professional platform, so you do want to have a professional photo. And it's kind of like fun fact, LinkedIn was actually the first social media. But besides that, you do want to write a brief but detailed profile description. I like to just put my name, the school that I go to, what I'm studying, and what your career aspirations are. And if you do have a GitHub or personal website, you should also add that as well. And as I mentioned before, LinkedIn is all about connections. So you want to connect with and like as many people as you know. Obviously, there are mutual connections as well, but don't connect with everyone, like people that you don't know, because that kind of defeats the point of LinkedIn where you're trying to use your connections to your advantage. And as I mentioned before, always reach out to others for opportunities. So now, if you guys don't already have a LinkedIn account, create one. And if you do, introduce yourselves to those around you and connect with them on LinkedIn. So we'll give you like a good amount of time for the rest of the club meeting. And if you guys want, you guys can also connect with us on LinkedIn. Here are our links. And yeah.
And don't leave yet. We do have a feedback form that we would love for you to fill out. So let's say in 10 minutes, we will put up the QR code for the feedback form, and we would love to hear how we can improve and what you thought of this workshop. But feel free to talk to each other, connect with each other. The slides, there's a link at the bottom. Yeah, it's LinkedIn resume GDSC, and then it's tinyurl.
So if you guys stay for the end, for the feedback form, then you guys will have a chance at winning a Lego set, a Minecraft Lego set, if you guys are interested.
please fill out the feedback form. We will be giving away a little Lego set. It'll be really cute. So let us know how we did. We would love to hear your feedback. Also, on the topic of internships, DSC is doing Leak Code sessions every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. in this room. We will also be posting about it, so we hope to see you there on Instagram and Discord. What's it called? So if you haven't filled out the feedback form, I'm going to say around 5 more minutes.